Let's move to our next story. This is interesting. I mean, they're all interesting, right? We wouldn't be covering this stuff if it wasn't interesting. Enigma Labs has released a report, and this is interesting. Eerie green lights under the water. Now, this was covered recently by the New York Post and News Nation, our go-to news network in the US that covers all things UAP and housed the show of Ross Coulthart as well, Reality Check, which we will be talking about in just a bit. But this was interesting. The UAP reporting app, Enigma, has logged more than 30,000 unexplained sightings since its late 2022 launch. Of those, over 9,000 appear within 10 miles of US coastlines, and more than 150 involve objects either entering or exiting the water. The states of California, with 389 reports, and Florida, with 306 reports, lead in these sightings. Witnesses report objects seamlessly transitioning between air and sea, sometimes without splash or wake, and even green lights beneath the surface. We'll get to that in just a sec. The Enigma map displays clusters of sightings up and down both US coasts. We have an image on the screen here if you're watching. If you live on any of these coasts, you better keep a lookout for these green lights or these UAPs out there, guys. So one video submitted to Enigma was of an eerie green light under the water captured in Florida. The video went viral, and News Nation interviewed former FBI agent and television host of UFO Witness, Ben Hansen, about it. So we're going to show you guys that video and Ben's discussion with the host about it. And then we're going to dig a little bit deeper into these green eerie lights under the water. What is it? What is it? I want to hear from you guys. But let's go ahead and watch this News Nation clip with Ben Hansen and the host discussing the eerie green lights and USOs. Give this a watch.
Yo, that shit weird.
Go over it. Go over it.
Nah, don't go over it. Because if we hit that shit and we get stuck on top of that bitch, and it keeps,
oh, that shit's brighter.
It's getting brighter, yeah.
They're pointing around like this.
I don't see nothing. I just see like a flashlight. Oh, and it's moving. Yup. There's somebody there, bro.
Look at the fishes.
It's like a light. I think it's a light.
Okay, Ben, the video that we were just looking at, my first thought was, that's got to be divers, right? It's got to be divers with those neon lights. And then I thought, no, not at night without a dive boat. That's really dangerous. What did you make of it when you saw this?
Exactly that. I mean, I'm a master diver. There's nobody around there with a dive boat, with a dive flag, anything like that. I like to dive at night. Some people go lobster diving. It is still possible. This particular one, we haven't had time even to get out there to go check this out in the field. But you start looking at, you know, the number of sightings that people are having in these locations, and you know, putting it all together, it just doesn't make sense that so many people, you know, are unable to. I don't know. The UFO thing has been, you know, always people focusing in the sky, right? And so it's kind of like now that we're shifting to USOs, a lot of people are wondering if this is a new phenomenon or not, and it really is not. You know, it's the submerged objects have been since the beginning. You know, when we started reporting, remember we had these pilots that were seeing them in the water off of Catalina. And air traffic controllers were telling us that pilots were witnessing this glow, sometimes the size of a city. You know, and so here you have this Fort Lauderdale case. It's a lot smaller, but you know, it's really hard to say whether we're looking at a natural phenomena. It's definitely not like phosphorus and algae. It's nothing like that, and it definitely doesn't explain how people are seeing the objects come up out of the water and zip out, and these huge like flaps have been going on for decades.
And then the ones that dive back into the water and don't even make a splash, which is also, it just gives the, makes the hair on my neck stand on end. Again, I just want to go back to these pictures. No, okay, not divers, but is it possible? Well, first of all, have we seen any, plausible explanations surfacing? Like, well, this could be the military testing out new technology. This could be all sorts of stuff that we're not supposed to be seeing. Could be the enemy, although I doubt the enemy wants to be seen like this. But any plausible stuff that you've seen surface?
In this particular case, we really haven't had a chance, no pun intended, to dive into it yet. But this is just an example, like I said, of something that is much bigger, where I've had numerous cases where people are telling us have been out in the boat, they've been far away from shore, which again would be much more difficult to be just divers. And they've passed over areas about the size of a football field. And it's like somebody turns on a switch and the whole thing just lights up underneath them. Right. And then you mentioned the fact, too, that some of them, like we have the USS Omaha case caught on thermal camera, where we have this trans-medium travel where they go into the water, don't seem to disturb it, come up out of the water, sometimes in broad daylight. Right. So something is traveling back and forth. You remember Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet, who's been on the show before. He testified in front of Congress about a Navy program that they're calling the fast movers. Right, and the fast movers, they detect and track these objects that travel faster than any torpedo should or could, perhaps over 100 miles an hour, right? And so you've got the fast ones, you have ones that kind of just linger there, huge, kind of like the size of a city. These guys, I think, were really afraid because they didn't know, should we actually drive over it? What's going to happen if we do?
All right. Eerie green lights under the water. I asked you guys, what do you think? What do you think these are? Some of you chimed in. Let's see what you said here. Robert says there is, let me get this off the screen here. There we go. There is a marine species that glow green at night. So maybe it is something biological. Riney Horn says the ocean itself will light up with movement. Stir a stick around in seawater at night, and you'll see it yourself. Rick says same color as glow sticks. Tritanium green. Tritium. I don't know how to pronounce that. JF algae blooms float on top of the water. I've seen it. It doesn't seem to behave like that. Oh, I like this. Clearly, it's Godzilla. Of course. Yeah. All work, low pay. Nailed it. Mystery solved. Show over. All work and low pay wins the prize tonight. No, I'll tell you who wins tonight. Garrett, thank you so much for the 10-pound super chat. Purity Control. That is a good X-Files reference right there, my friend. You will love that X-Files video if we reach our goal tonight of super chats and super stickers. Thank you so much, my friend. And James Craig as well. I thought I saw a little gray alien, but it was a giant green monster, James Craig says. Remember, green monster, your code words for tonight, guys, over on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Put those in your ratings and reviews. Thank you so much. All right. So, eerie green lights under the water. Looked pretty crazy in that video. These guys are out on a boat. They're afraid to go over it. They're in Florida, obviously one of these coasts where a lot of this stuff is being reported. And I hate to say it, but sometimes as ufologists, our job is not to prove that UFOs or USOs are aliens. Our job is to find the truth. And if that means debunking something, that means debunking it so that we can then move on to the next anomalous thing. If we can make it not anomalous, that is what we are here to do. It's that remaining 1% that remains unexplained that we always have to keep in mind. Now, I cannot be 100% certain of this, obviously, but I do believe I have found the culprit of the underwater green lights. I want you to say hello to bass fishing pro Jake Maddox. Give this a watch, guys.
Green Monster fishing light, I had that opportunity. You know, you don't need a fancy bass boat to get started bass fishing or fishing in general. You know, all you have to do is sink the Green Monster light and sink it and they'll come. I use the Green Monster fishing light because it gives me a better picture of what's going on under the water. A lot of guys get off the water early, get off at dark, but they're only getting half the picture. So I'm fishing after dark and seeing what these fish are doing. So it helps me paint the full picture. So on tournament competition, I have a better understanding what these fish are doing the day because I know what they're doing during the night. Without the light, you're basically just going down the bank and hoping you get a bite. You know, basically it tracks the bait fish and it draws in those bigger fish to feed on those bait fish. So rather than just fishing down the bank, catching one here and there, you're able to make the same repetitive cast and catch fish over and over and over again. Lake Martin is covered with green lights. Everywhere you look at night driving the boat, there's green monsters.
What do you think, guys? I mean, come on. Just look at it. Green monster lights, it makes sense. It attracts fish. It makes you able to see what's under the water at night so that you can be out there fishing when most fishers are in for the day. And these things, you just throw them out there and you can flick them on with a switch, on and off whenever you want. Get them big, get them small in a condensed area or a expanded area, and there you go. I mean, come on. You cannot tell me that this is at least the culprit for some of these green lights, especially the ones that we saw in that Enigma video. I have no doubt. In Florida, nonetheless. Or it's mermaids, as Pat Gallagher says. But there you go, guys. I believe I may have solved the mysterious green lights. But yeah, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Maybe we're on to something, or maybe they are actual USOs. No matter what, USOs are in the news. They are all over the place. In an interview with the New York Post, I do want to stress this. Retired Navy Rear Admiral Tim Gallaudet warns that this is a pattern of USOs that could represent a world-changing maritime security issue. Objects that can move between ocean and air domains might challenge the U.S. military's situational awareness in its waters. Gallaudet argues that the under-investigated oceanic domain may harbor anomalous phenomena that haven't yet been fully addressed by the Department of Defense. And we are going to hear more about Tim Gallaudet later in the show in Suzanne's review of the Seoul Symposium, where Tim Gallaudet was one of the speakers. So I'm excited to hear what she has to say about that. But as for the green lights, guys, I hate to burst your bubbles, but I think we did solve it. By the way, this episode is sponsored by Green Monster Fishing Lights. You can learn more at... No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're not sponsored by Green Monsters.